The Spector, Part 4. What is it? It, said Jen, as her and Adam looked at me puzzled. You haven't told her? Said Johnny. I've known her for a day. What was I supposed to tell her, Johnny? Oh, hi, I'm Mark. By the way, this thing drove my brother off the deep end and now he's dead. It's lovely to meet you. All right, Adam said. Let's all just take a deep breath and calm down for a second. We all paused and gathered ourselves. Mark, what did you see? Adam broke the silence. Not here. Not now, I said, holding my chest as it began to tighten up. I can't breathe. Okay, Jen said. I think we're all a little bit worked up. It's been a long day. How about we just pack it in, and tomorrow we'll all meet here after school, and Mark can tell us about what he saw, okay? We all responded, okay. We all stood up and walked back to the parking lot. Johnny, Jen, and I piled into the station wagon, and Adam got into his Jeep. We all departed and headed back home. We dropped Johnny off. Will someone pick me up, and will somebody tell me where we're meeting? He said as he opened the door. Yeah, Johnny, I'll pick you up, Jen said. Okay, see you guys then. Johnny shut the door and walked back to his house. Jen pulled off and drove back to Blaine. She pulled up to my house and stopped at the curb. Thanks for the ride, I said. Jen looked at me. Do you want me to come in for a bit? She asked. No, it'll be okay. Thank you for the ride and for bringing me my bag earlier. Of course, she responded. If you need anything, you know where to find me. She leaned over the center console and gave me a hug, after which I opened the door and made my way inside. I walked through the kitchen, down the hall, opened my door, and went to bed. Wednesday, October 28th, 1998. I woke up to a knock at my door. You came in late last night. It was Holly. Yeah, whatever, I said. I think you need to come here. What? I said back. Mark, come here, now, she demanded. I got out of bed and followed my sister down the hall. We rounded the corner into the living room where I saw Jen standing. Jen? I said. Hey, Mark, I wanted to check on you to see if you were okay. Okay? What happened? Holly interjected. Well, last night I tripped and fell over a branch, I interjected and glanced at Jen. Yeah, she said, catching on. He took a pretty nasty fall. Yeah, well, thank you, Jen. I'm doing all right. A little sore, but I've been worse. Good, she responded. Well, I'll leave you two to it. Holly left the room. Do you need a ride to school? I got the car again, Jen said. Sure, but what happened last night, She's already freaked out enough, I said to Jen. Of course. I'm sorry if I overstepped. It's okay. You didn't know and it's not your fault, I said. I appreciate you coming by. Come on, let's get to school. I went back to my room, threw on a new shirt, put on my shoes, grabbed my bag, and headed out. We went out to the car, got in, and hit the road. Jen flipped on the radio. In my eyes, indisposed, and disguises no one knows, hides the face, lies the snakes, and the sun in my disgrace. Those lyrics echoed in me after the events of last night. We pulled into the parking lot, I hopped out, and walked to class, without saying much of anything to each other. I sat in my desk, my mind anywhere but there. At lunch they served some crappy schoolroom pizza that they did every other day. I felt like I was in a trance until it was almost the end of the day when the intercom chimed in. Good afternoon, students. This is Principal Stein speaking. I have some unfortunate news to share, so please listen up. Today, I was informed by local authorities that 15-year-old Kyle Johnston was found on the banks of Cow Creek. He had sustained multiple injuries, and the coroner's office believes that he had succumbed to his wounds. There's still no information about who may have done this, but please keep Kyle in your thoughts, As today, we all mourn the loss of a fellow family member, friend, and a fellow Downy duck. That is all for now. God be with us. I wanted to ask about the 2 other bodies that were found, but chose not to. Cries began to fill the room, and I just couldn't take it. I grabbed my bag, went to Miss Simon, and asked if I could be excused. Without hesitation, she allowed me to go. I exited the classroom and walked down the halls with my head hanging low. I occasionally glanced over into other classrooms where students were embracing and coming together. "Mark!" I heard a voice call out. I ignored it and kept walking. I got to Jen's car and just leaned on the hood, like it was my own. I stood there until classes let out. About 15 minutes later, Jen and Adam walked up. "Mark?" I looked up, and Jen was standing there, looking up at me. Adam put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Let's go get Johnny." We all piled into Jen's car and left for Johnny's house. Jen flicked on the radio. "Black hole sun, won't you come and wash away the rain? Black hole sun, won't you come, won't you come?" We picked up Johnny and made our way to Hyde Park, where not even 24 hours ago there was a large group of people gathered. Today, a few people walking dogs and watching their kids play at the park. We exited the car and made our way to the picnic area, a popular place for parties in the summer, but was left cold and empty today. We each took a seat at the picnic table bench. I sat on the side facing the trees in the wooded area where I had witnessed the unimaginable last night. "So, Mark," Adam said, "what happened? What did you see?" I took my gaze off the woods and locked eyes with him. "I don't know," I just said softly, not wanting to admit that what I saw was real. I mean, what if it was just a figment of my imagination? What if they don't believe me? "You don't know? What do you mean you don't know?" Adam said with a biteful tone. I don't know how to describe it," I said back. He let out a sharp exhale and said, "So what are we even doing here?" "Give him a second, Adam. Let him breathe," Jen chimed in. "It was that thing, wasn't it?" Johnny said. I looked at him and nodded my head. "Okay, guys, look. You have to understand that what we're about to tell you, it doesn't really make sense. Like, it sounds made up, but it's not." "What do you mean, Johnny?" Jen said. "Mark," he replied. It's basically this thing that I don't know. It's this being, this thing. I chimed in. "You know how some people have guardian angels?" They all looked at me and nodded, one by one. "It's like that, but not." "So, like, it's here to protect you?" Adam asked. "No, it's here to hunt them," Johnny chimed in. "I don't know what the hell you guys are talking about. An angel that hunts?" Adam asked, confused, which I figured would be the case. "Yes, just like that. But this isn't an angel. Matter of fact, I don't know what it is. A demon? Satan himself? A string of bad luck? I don't know," I said and pressed my hands against my head. "Okay, so why here? What happened?" Adam said. So how do you know about this?" Jen asked. "Do you want me to tell them?" Johnny asked. No, I got it. Several years ago, my grandmother passed away. She lived on the East Coast. My grandmother was a decent person. She liked to knit and, grandma shit. When she passed, the whole family flew out for her services and to collect her personal effects. Since my dad was the only child and my grandfather passed away many years ago, he was kind of left in charge to clear out her entire house. We spent about a week or so up there, clearing out that place and grabbing items that we thought we liked and having them shipped back here. Well, amongst these boxes, there was a small lockbox. There was something inside, but we didn't know what it was. The boxes that we found this in were up in the attic since, it was just random stuff. I took a deep breath. If we had only known, if we knew the contents of this box, I don't think Shane would have. I felt my eyes begin to well up, and a shoulder reached over top of mine. It's okay, Mark. Take your time, Jen said. Well, about 2.5 years ago, our parents asked us to go through the attic, just to clear some stuff out for a garage sale. That's when Shane, he found the lockbox. I remember him saying, "Bet I could get into this." I didn't think much of it. Later that day, when we had finished clearing up and the garage sale was over, Shane went into his room and, well, you guys could probably figure out what happened. He managed to pry the box open, and inside there was this book. The book was very old and almost decaying, but I guess it meant something to Grandma because she kept it all these years, right? The cover said something like Liber Damatorium. Neither of us knew what that meant. It was all gibberish to us. He got really invested into this book, and that's when it started appearing, it being the creature. Shane would constantly complain about feeling watched, like something was following him. He said he felt like he was in danger. If you knew Shane, you would have probably thought he was just pulling some type of prank or something. He always was, except this was no prank. This feeling continued to get worse and worse and until it all came to a head, and that's when he had the accident. What accident? Adam asked. He was driving home one night, and before he left work, he called the house and told my mom that something didn't feel right, that he didn't think he was okay. They talked for a minute, but my mom ultimately blew it off and just said to come home. He tried to tell us. God, I wish we would have listened. That night, he was coming home and crashed. Nobody saw the crash, but a bystander called it in later. He was in critical condition and eventually passed away in the hospital. While we were there watching him, tears began to roll out of my eyes. Shane said, "It's got me. That thing's got me. Help me." And then he passed away. So what was the thing? Jen asked. It was a figure, like a person, but completely black with red eyes and razor sharp teeth, I said back. He said it was completely black and it followed him for months. After the accident, we were cleaning up his room and I found the book, and that's the last time I saw it. After the services, I was going through pictures and videos of him, just reliving memories, and it was there. And a VHS tape. You could see the thing. It was Holly's birthday party, and behind him, it was exactly what he described. That's when I showed Johnny a few weeks later. We thought maybe it was just an old tape and maybe something was just superimposed or something, but the tape was brand new. There was no old title or old label on it or anything. I know it sounds crazy, but is that what you saw last night? Johnny asked. Yes. But this time, it had Kyle. And Kyle was begging me for help, and I ran. More tears began to fall out of my eyes as I began to cry. "Mark," Johnny said, "if that's what you saw, then we're all in deep shit." You said the book was titled Liber Damatorium, right? I think that's Latin for Book of the Damned, Jen said. Where is this book? Maybe it'll have, maybe some more information that we could use, Jen said. You know Latin? Johnny asked. A little? I don't know a lot, but I think I know enough. If we can find this book, then maybe we can find a way to stop all of this. And stop this thing. It's at my house somewhere, I said back. Well, what are we waiting for? And we can get a look at that tape. It seems far fetched, but I know it does, I said. But I'm telling you, it had Kyle, and it was there, clear as day. Well, let's go to Mark's house, Adam said. Don't worry, buddy. We'll figure this all out, Johnny said to me. We all stood up and shuffled out of the picnic area. We walked to the car and got in. I guess nobody was really paying attention. Jen started the car, put it into gear, and looked up and screamed. Her scream rattled the car like a lightning strike. We all looked at her, then out the window. Standing 10 feet away from the front of the car was it, the being. Its eyes piercingly red, no noticeable facial features except teeth, large red-stained teeth. Jen looked back and said, "Hold on!" She backed out of the spot going at least 100 miles an hour, but the car stalled. She tried starting it over and over, but it wouldn't go. The creature began walking toward the car slowly, menacingly. The engine was turning and turning, but not starting. The creature slowly closed the gap, and finally the car started. Jen slammed the car into drive and took off, burning tires on her way out, peeling out of there as fast as that car could go. As she got to the exit, she looked back and said, "It's gone." We all turned around, and this thing that was not there not even 20 seconds ago had vanished.